Okay, family, I'm back here again trying to put some videos pieces together. I'm here working with Brother Rich on Black Magic 363 with my girl Fairborn, and the conversation is deep. Now I'm going to piggyback off of my man Brother Rich here, so I'm going to put some clips on here from Brother Rich. Oh, my man don't mind, but this is promoting his channel also. So some clips I got here, if they have some very, very deep information they're talking about the Andrometers, the Anunnakis, and the souls coming in, souls that have been here and can't leave here. That's why those so-called people of different colors want to keep us locked down in their reality because they can't leave. They're we're called in the loop. They keep coming back over and over again because they like the power of having, politics and being government and having the money and having all this stuff. So they keep looping back and forth. Anyway, it's interesting. So I'm gonna put some serious clips here back and forth on these guys and this lady here having a conversation, a deep internet conversation, and hang in there, folks. Until then, peace out.
Times it's 2023. A lot is going on. What are they telling you about what's happening right now?
Well, I think this is kind of it's weird because years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when I was talking about it, it seemed so far fetched, and people were
Yeah.
like, "Well, you're fear mongering. This can't happen." Well, just basically, it's a shift. It's a reset. It's some religious people call it the rapture.
Mm-hmm.
The some call it the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
It is a cycle, a cylindrical cycle that we go through every couple of hundreds of years, depending on what you acknowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and we go through this evolution as a soul group. I don't know that everybody's a soul. Some people are just here for expectation, or some people like to call them background people, empty seaters, or Sims,
Uh,
or
and what's the word? NPCs.
NPCs, which is my
NPCs.
favorite term. And
Yeah.
these are just basically holographic beings that kind of fill up the space while we're engaging in our evolution here on the holographic planet called Earth. I personally think this isn't Earth. I think this is a hologram and a like a copy of what was considered to be Earth.
So what was the original Earth if this is a copy of what was once considered to be Earth?
Tiamat. Many
Tiamat.
people recognize her name, Tiamat. And there are different worlds that are reminiscent of Earth with the same similar geographical terrain. And
Mm-hmm.
if you've been accustomed to knowing, my perspective is that we're living in a dome, like a snow globe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our weather is modified, controlled. Everything that we engage with, whether it's food or interaction or even the agendas that are ran, are purposefully done uh, during this cycle while we're interfacing with one another. And as we evolve and gain a certain amount of wisdom and consciousness, we evolve and perhaps have the ability to exodus outside of the dome, where there's multiple domes outside of ourselves, which some people call them planets, but they're literally other worlds, and many of us genetically come from those other worlds.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Do
why
you,
there's 20 different phenotypes in this particular, Earth, simulation.
Indeed. Being that this is a simulation and we talked about background people, NPCs, we have the NPCs. That's for those who don't know what that means. It's an acronym for non-playable characters. So in video games, you just got people in the background that's just they're non-playable. They're just there. What happens if a person with a soul gets NPC pregnant, or if that's even possible?
And to my understanding, it is impossible. You can play with an NPC, you can interface with an NPC, but realistically, NPCs can kind of interface with each other and give birth to holographic or more NPCs. But a soul, and we kind of pick up to the Zombies. We were kind of discussing this on my Zoom last night. Is a soul is a individual that comes with the connection to source outside of the firmament, and because of that, they can only give birth to that. A soul can only give birth to a soul. Even if we try to interface with an NPC or antecedent, it's just fodder. It's just we play with them and that's it. They're just meant to fill in the space, almost like props in a play.
The reason why I asked that is because if you know, a lot of people in the pro-black movement, going back to the days of Elijah Muhammad, where they talk about the creation of what we call the white race, some people would say they don't have souls. So then the question always becomes, what happens when a black man gets with a white woman and has that baby? You get what I'm saying? If that black man has a soul, and you saying these people don't have souls, then what happens? What is that baby? What is that biracial? The outcome of that biracial child? You get what I'm saying?
Well, complexion doesn't denote soul essence.
Mm-hmm.
There are more mature soul groups and less mature soul groups.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know that we interface, I always think there's stages of a person's evolution, and I always liken it to, I'm from Generation X, so I'm going to reference it to like a Pac-Man game.
Yes.
The beginning of a Pac-Man game, you play, you get all the cherries, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I want to pause it right here, folks.
And there are people who won't ever leave here because they're lifers. So they're caught up in the loop, and that's why their life is so easy here, because just like if you're in prison, you make the best of the situation when you're in prison because you're going to life.
Oh, shit.
So
you said they got a life sentence. Wow. Damn.
Yes. So they aren't able to leave, but what happens is that they want to try to make it so that others can't leave. It's like hating on someone. It's like, if I can't leave, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to make it very difficult for you to leave. So these are lifetime loopers, and these are what you see politicians and people on the top tier. And I'm not saying all, but the majority that are illuminated generally are the lower tier as far as ranking in the prison system.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you say very interesting terms. Lifetime loopers. Yes. I like that. They're lifetime loopers in your comparison.
They're going to be back in this loop for the next cycle. After we do reset, they're going to be back in here doing the same shenanigans, cause and wreck, creating more chaos, because they haven't the ability. They can evolve, but they've gotten past that. They decided to make a decision. They made a decision to participate in low frequency behavior, and once they've done it so many times and they've kind of hacked the system, they can be king in here. You know what I mean? Why leave the firmament when you've gained a certain higher ranking in this, this holographic existence?
Is this experiment, would you want to come back here?
Hell no.
Is this something?
No, I'm leaving.
No.
You're good with this?
Me too. No.
Yeah.
So was this a conscious decision from your soul to come here at this time?
Every soul is conscious. And even if you're sentenced here into the holographic, programmable loop, you've chosen to come here, whether it's through soul evolution, you needed to come here to gain a certain amount of conscious wisdom, or you've been sentenced here because you were diabolical in the realms you came from.
Outside of the firmament, what realm would you say you come from?
The Andromeda.
Outside of the firmament, what realm would you say you come from?
The Andromeda.
Andromeda?
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
The Andromeda system is it's solely female, so
it's all women.
It's all women, yeah.
Wow.
And I think a lot of your movies have spoken about this particular place with Wonder Woman. They just changed the complexion. Your Amazonians are referenced. That is the world I come from. We were able to give birth through parthenogenesis. We existed and lived. We weren't aging. We were a very cohesive, loving group of, wonderful Andromedans. And we've had liaisons with other groups like the Anunnaki, some of the insectoids. We've had great connections with certain groups that are more cohesive to the type of lifestyle that we've lived throughout the centuries.
There's, the Anunnaki is a hot topic in the internet community. What can you tell us about the relations between the Anunnaki and the Andromedans?
They're kin. They're like cousins.
They're like cousins. Okay.
They come. The Andromedans.
I'm going to pause it here, folks.
I'm sure they're agents. Some of them.
What you talk about the government. What groups of extraterrestrials are working side by side with the government to carry out this agenda that we see the Vatican or whoever carrying out at this time?
Well, most people think it's the Greys, but the Greys are a bioborg. They're not even natural.
That's
so
what I heard.
It isn't the Greys. Most people utilize that as the front, the cover, to cover the other ones in the background. No. Generally, there's a couple different groups that are working, and some of the presidents back in the day sold us out, like Roosevelt, Jefferson. They made agreements with some of these more nefarious groups and wanted to use some humans for harvesting. So what they did is they sold out part of the society 1/4, and it happens in every society, but they sold out. And what has happened since then is that we've had, I would like to say that, I know people don't like when I say this, but it's my opinion. It's these Pelagians. I really think they're nefarious. These so-called glorious Pelagians. I personally think that that sector, along with other Nordic type of beings, are
Mm-hmm.
working with the government, and they're utilizing those positions to harvest on melanated people globally for experimentations, and that's when you get the grays and everything. Most people just talk about the grays, but really the grays are like the middleman, that the Borgs that are being, basically, programmed to go and get and harvest, and they're the ones who usually get the blame. But those are not real beings. Most of them are bioforce. They're not organic. Most grays are not even from our area. They're so far out. They're not from here.
Mm. I remember one time Dick Gregory was on the Breakfast Club, and rest in power to Dick Gregory, and he said that a lot of the people that are going missing, because we continues to hear about people going missing. Where do they go? Where are these people going? And we hear about the organ harvesting.
Yeah.
Dick Gregory said something along the lines that they're being taken to another planet,
Another world. Yeah.
another world, right?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Is there anything you?
Well, I have a theory, and it's very
Uh-oh.
controversial.
I want to hear it. I'm ready.
Is
I
it
want to hear
okay?
it. I want to hear it.
Well, okay. My theory is that the only way you can leave out of here through the firmament or the plasma is with melanin. And if
Interesting.
you look at a lot of places and see missing brown people from many different nations, you start to think to yourself, wow, is it possible that they just genocided them? Or who's using all these organs?
Right.
But I don't know if you saw years ago, and I think there was only a few of us who saw this episode on it was on, not the,
I remember seeing that.
it was an old
I
show. It was
remember
called,
seeing that
not the,
that
oh
movie.
gosh, it was a show. Okay, anyway, it was a show that used to come on, kind of like like a regular show that shows like different scenarios and space aliens and so on. Well, there was one show that is shown on YouTube now, but they took out a scene, and it was a show when they had a scenario where these space aliens came from space, and they came here, and they said to the government, "Hey, we have all this wonderful thing. We could heal your whole world. We could make everything great for y'all, but we just need one thing." And they said, "Yeah, what do you need? We have things that
Brown
we can
people.
offer you, And they said, "We need all your brown people."
Ooh.
They said, "Brown people." So I forgot the guy who played Benson. You're younger than I am. The guy who played Benson was in the movie. I forgot his name, and he was like, "They'll never let brown people." Who was
Cosmic Slop?
Yeah, yeah,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, that,
Yeah,
that-
yeah.
yeah,
Cosmic,
okay.
but that's not the original. It was Outer Limits. Outer Limits was the
Okay.
original show.
Okay.
Cosmic Slop took it, but they took out the scene.
Okay.
Mm.
During the scene, the guy says, "They'll never take all brown people."
I remember
That's
the
not
movie.
possible." He had a lunar wife. He was like, "Nah, they're not gonna do that." Next thing you know, you already know. They sold out the brown people.
Yeah.
So all brown people, every last one of them, had to leave and go on the ship specifically. So you see at the end, they're all going, they're crying, they're friends.
I remember that
They
movie
don't know what's going
distinctively.
on. Then next thing you know, they get on. Now this is a scene that they took off the internet totally. This is when I'm going to share my scenario. So as the last person, the brown person goes on, they turn around, they look, and they're like, "Oh, snap, they sold this out." They get in, the ship goes in, closes off, the ship goes whoop right into the sky. Then there's a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the entire Earth blows up. Okay? So I remember seeing that as a child. You notice they took that off of the internet totally. My theory is brown people are being, because they have a chemical content, which just gives a, Delbert Blair used to say it was a passport to the galaxy, having melanin.
Passport.
Okay?
You're right.
So my thing is, I personally think that's why a lot of white celebrities and a lot of certain people who are conscious, like the higher tier Masons, the Brotherhood, they get brown women especially because they know they use them as barter because they have the ability to leave. So I personally think that not all brown people are being harvested. I think they're being used almost like ransom so that they can have access to
leave the
outer
planet.
world.
Interesting.
And if you look at places like that, there's a theory in Argentina where all the people disappeared that were brown and they don't know where they are.
And the Indians.
I'm in South America a lot, and they don't know where they are. They say, "Oh, they mixed with everybody." No.
And a whole bunch of Indians in Canada too gets disappeared. The whole village totally disappeared.
Close to Antarctica, where the
Mm.
brown woman, there's a brown woman who was sighted on top of the ice wall. She was like 12 feet tall, a brown sister, cosmic sister. She had like illuminated white hair, like the Anunnaki woman, white hair, and she stands on the ice wall. That's an Andromeda. So I personally think that during the reset, brown people have access to those portals and they get exoduses out. That's why I think the lunar people get brown children as a bartering system, and I think they keep them to see if they can have access as well. I think it's almost like a piggybacking kind of thing.
Well, like when Madonna
Madonna
adopts black
and
children
Julianne.
like that, right?
Yeah.
I think they do it because they know that those children have the ability to access the outer realms, outside the firmament, outside the plasma walls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is a very, very interesting.
Words and meanings change over time. So really, does sky mean above or does it mean below? You know, you got to be careful with that. Or if they point up, it could mean that they're pointing out, because even though we're in a dome,
Down could be up and up could be down.
Realms. So what could be perceived is something comes through a vortex or a stargate, and it comes from above, like a you know, if the Dogon saw like a helicopter, they would say it came from above. But it didn't mean that it came from all the way above. It could have came from somewhere else and just appeared from above.
Right. So, what's your thoughts about the waters, the ocean, deep down in the ocean? What's going on down there, Queen? Tell me, talk to me. What's going on down deep in the ocean?
Well, you know, that's all plasma. You know, I made a video saying plasma in, plasma, you know, like blood in, blood out, plasma in, plasma out. In order to come in here, you got to come through the waters, and to come through the womb, you come through plasma. To be here, you have to walk through plasma. Everything exists with plasma. When a bird is born from an egg, it has plasma inside. So everything, we're in kind of like an egg, if you think about it. We're kind of an egg with a yolk, to be honest. And you know, I was talking about before is that
If you guys get a chance, watch that movie with Jim Carrey called the Truman Show. It's called the Truman Show, something like that. With the TTRUNME, the Truman Show with Jim Carrey. When he speaks about he actually think he was living inside a dome. Check it out.
there's waters above and waters below. I personally think that we're under some sort of water, like some sort of ocean, and all of these different domes, because all of the outer worlds, they're under domes as well. Right. So you got to think to yourself, why is if you ever look at like SpongeBob or what's another
Okay, I'll pause it here.
Above us and water below us, and that's why people years ago used to see fish dropping out the sky. They used to have back on YouTube, back in the days when I was on YouTube, it was like the guy took a picture and it disappeared. But it was like a whale flying in the sky. Remember, like squid, they were seeing an octopus in the sky. Where are you seeing octopi in the sky? Why? Why are you seeing like aquatic entities in the sky? Because we're in some sort of firmament, and above it is water, and below it is water. So I personally think, like I said, in order to come in and out, you got to go through. Even on the stargates, look at the stargates; they all have water in the stargates. Every stargate movie you see, it's always like a water gate. You know what I mean? So, or porthole. You know, when you go ice fishing and you open up that hole to go fishing, you got to open it up to go in. That's all.
I'm going to pause it again, folks. So, this next question that Brother Rich asks, I said before, we have nothing to worry about. Once we make it on Earth, we are masters. She said the same thing. Once we make it here on Earth, we are masters. Check this out, folks.
Indeed, wow. Definitely. You know, this world, Earth, how do you think, what level of importance do you think when we talk about Andromeda, when we talk about Sirius, when we talk about the Pleiades, what level of importance do you think we have in a universal scheme of things? How important is Earth?
Oh, I think we get a badge of honor when we leave here. This is the biggest battlefield. This is like Aliens versus Predator. Like when you dropped them, remember you saw her? Like Annihilating was in there. They dropped them in there. Like that was part of the battle. The aliens, they actually wanted to battle. So you gain a lot of wisdom. You gain some brownie points. Like you get badges of honor. If you come out of here and you go in the outer world, they're going to see you and perceive you as a higher master of multiple realms, because you're interfacing with multiple beings from different types of dimensional kind of makeups, and you're able to overcome them, come out unscathed, and be able to, you know, keep that conscious awareness. You're like the bomb.com outside of here.
So you mentioned Pac-Man. So Earth would be the final level in Pac-Man. Then.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Or the final level of like Resident Evil. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
yeah. There's the final level. And like I said, when you come here, there isn't any victims here. You kinetically, we create our whole reality. We have the ability, because it's a simulation, the frequency that you are is what you emanate and it was what you create.
That's why I keep telling you guys, your thoughts create your reality. Whatever you think on, you are going to manifest right here. But once you make it here, you are a master. Now, family, I'm going to cut it right there. Like I said before, once you make it on Earth, man, you're a master, man. You're a master. I'm going to cut it. If you want to watch the whole thing is this here. Bring it up for you in a minute. That should be right here, right there. That's you can YouTube that to watch the whole thing because it's too long. I don't like to go past. I'm actually past my time now, 21 minutes. So that's what you can go to YouTube video. Until then, folks, I love you guys, man. Like I said, we ain't got nothing to worry about, man. We're the masters here. So, Brooklyn boy, I'm out of here. Peace out. One love.